My name is Kevin Cook. I'm the co-founder and CEO of TreasurySpring, London-based financial technology company, unlocking wholesale money markets. What does that mean? Well, it means that we bring an entirely new menu for corporates and beyond to invest in the same cash management instruments that the largest banks, the largest financial institutions, the largest hedge funds routinely have done for decades, but up until now have been unavailable to the rest of the market. Why have they been unavailable? Typically because to do the things that the large banks and other financial institutions do, so to buy government bonds, to do reverse repo, short-term lending to banks on a secured basis, to do short-term corporate lending, to manage FX exposure, is complicated, cumbersome, requires a reasonable amount of infrastructure, expertise, risk management that just simply doesn't stack up for the vast majority of non-financial corporations. The very largest will do the sorts of things that I'm talking about routinely, but for most folks, it's just not out there. So I would imagine that 90% of the people plus in the room out there on the corporate side buy bank deposits and money market funds as their cash management tools. That's all they've ever done. We've built something that looks like an alternative to your term deposit. So term deposits are fine, they're great. You have a single unsecured bank exposure. But in our world, you can go not just to the unsecured bank exposures that you typically get either directly through your term deposits, but also indirectly through your money market funds, and get access to things that offer lower risk and higher return than if you were just in those unsecured deposits. So I'll give you a very brief demonstration today of our portal. I guess the golden rule is never go on stage with animals, children, or live technology. So we'll see how we go. But ultimately, one single login to our platform. So typically, you open bank accounts with multiple banks. You have to do multiple account openings, multiple pieces of paper flying around, KYC, AML, weighing signatures. In our world, you have one set of KYC and AML, fully regulated fund management business, so we still have to do everything 100% to the highest standards, but rather than doing that multiple times for each underlying exposure, you just do it once to the platform. Everything's digital and straightforward. Once you're onboarded, you've got this available fixed-term funds. So our products, our fixed-term funds, sort of do what they say on the tin. They're a fund, so you don't need any infrastructure to subscribe for them. So you don't need a custody account, don't need to worry about ISINs, QSIPs, whatever. You can just subscribe for them in the same way that you might subscribe for your money market funds. But unlike a normal fund, they're for a fixed term. So you can see along here, you've got the underlying fixed term fund. This is obviously all demo data. You've got the maturity date of that fixed term fund, the term that means, the obligor rating. So this is the credit rating of the underlying. I guess worth stressing, everything we do is investment grade. So short-dated investment grade, very much cash, not traditional fixed income investing, but cash management investing. The indicative yield, the depth in the market, and a subscribe button. So if I look along here, I can see this series here. So this is lending to a large global financial institution, but on a secured basis. So we've gone to a huge amount of onboarding to put in place the ability to do tri-party repo, something that you've probably all heard about from the banks and the providers, but very few of the corporate world actually do. We've put in place all of that infrastructure so that our clients can then go and access that short-term secured bank exposure at the click of a button. So moving from unsecured to secured, getting a much lower risk product. But interestingly, because of barriers to entry, because of regulatory capital, because of other oddities of the way the banking system works, you're able to earn a higher return from lending to a bank on a secured basis than you can on an unsecured basis. So if I look at this and I'm saying, okay, this is 18th of November, secured 32 days, paying me 82 basis points in sterling. If I say, actually, I'd quite like to buy that. So subscription form pops up. It's got all the details of the different entities. So if I have multiple different entities, I can set up multiple risk management parameters on the platform. So this entity, Widgets PLC, is investing in sterling. It's buying this big bank secured, which would be, think AN, large investment bank name, obligor rating, single A+, yield, 82 basis points. I'm going to say I'm going to buy 10 million of it. Handy little gadget, so you don't get the number of zeros wrong. Then this is where it looks a bit different to a term deposit. So term deposit, you might phone up and you place your term deposit, and at the end of it, it rolls off, and maybe your banker phones you back and says, what do you want to do with it? Here, you can set it up as high touch or as low touch as you want. So we set it up, let's say in this case, it's a month term deposit, roughly. I'm going to set that up to auto roll for 1 month. That means at the end of the 1 month term, you're going to get a notification saying that you're going to be automatically rolled into a new 1-month term deposit via our fixed term funds, and that will then continue without your need to do anything. If, on the other hand, you choose to redeem that or put that into a different fixed term fund, then that's all super straightforward. So I've just sent that subscription. That will then send off a contract note by email to whatever email addresses I've been set up to receive it. So you can see that that's just come into my inbox here. This can go straight into your back office, straight into your reporting systems, straight to your administrator, however it needs to go. And you can see that this underlying trade ticket was the trade ticket that I've just processed for £10 million in sterling, 82 basis points, electronically signed at the bottom of the platform, giving the date, approval, signature, so we can set up whatever approval mechanics are necessary in order to approve the underlying transactions. And then once I've purchased it, so I did that on behalf of Widget PLC, I go into my holdings page, and I can see here the different holdings that I've got across different entities, if I've got multiple in my portfolio, and across different terms. So that's seen easily in graphical form at the top. And then if I wanted to zoom in on a particular section of it to say, okay, what are the actual maturity dates in this particular field, then I can see what I've got by maturity date all in one place across multiple different products, all having just made just a few clicks rather than the years of infrastructure that it would take to put this stuff in place directly. Then if I look down to, this is my portfolio. So you can see some of these trades are showing as issued. So this one here was issued at 166. I want to change my maturity action. So originally I'd set it to auto roll. Now I'd actually quite like to set it to redeem. Oh, pressed the wrong button. Come in, change that to redeem. That money will then flow straight back out on the maturity date back to my bank account that I set it up to receive the funds from. So ultimately it's always just new pipelines connecting you with places that your cash couldn't otherwise get to, but are offering a lower risk and higher return alternative to the traditional term deposits and money market funds that people have historically been placing cash in. Business has been around since 2016 when myself and my two co-founders set it up. Launched our first regulated fixed term fund in July of last year. Issued about $750 million worth of fixed term funds since that point to corporates, charities, family offices, ultra high net worth individuals, hedge funds, private equity folks and beyond.